We are going to go now live from Mexico to Janet Phelan with the Phelan Report, which, by the way, is posted on the Feet the Fire YouTube channel. It's on its own playlist, so you can subscribe, I believe, to that playlist and never miss a Phelan Report. And so let's go live to her now. Welcome live from Mexico, Janet Phelan.
Hey, how you doing today, James?
All right. Actually, I'm doing pretty good. I actually had some fun today. I put up some music videos from Ann McWilliams I retaped back in the 90s. Gives you an idea how far behind I am. And I had a digital recorder, and a technical glitch prevented me from uploading them to the computer to edit them. And I finally got that worked out by literally buying a new camcorder to transfer it. The other one records and plays, doesn't transfer. This one transfers. So I had a little fun and put those up. And I got some trips I made to Mexico, to the pyramids, and I made some trips to cathedrals in Europe, which I hope to also put together in a YouTube and upload.
Awesome.
I had fun back then. Back then when I had time. Anyway, so
I found cathedrals in Europe to be very interesting. I did a sort of a whirlwind 3-week trip through Italy back in, I think it was 2009, and visited a lot of cathedrals, Catholic churches in Italy, and I was just actually transfixed by the symbolism in the carvings and so forth on the faces of the church. I found them to be all these dragons, all these two-headed beasts, winged serpents. I was just fascinated by all that.
Yeah, I was amazed by something very simple. Being a American by birth, when you have the oldest buildings in America are a couple hundred years old, I was really put in my place when I was standing in Poland in a cathedral in Gdansk, Poland, where they started building it. It's something like 1100 A.D., and it took them 350 years to build it. So the great-grandchildren of those who started building it actually saw it done, and I really put like a wow perspective on time.
Yeah, it sure does. Huh?
Anyway, what do you have on your plate for us today?
Well, a number of things that I'd like to discuss. I'd like to hit on some stories briefly. It's been reported now in Philadelphia, and I want to thank a listener for bringing this to my attention, that the American Freedom Defense Initiative has successfully started a bus campaign, putting big ads on the side of buses in Philadelphia that are basically anti-Muslim ads. The AFDI also goes by the name of Stop Islamization of America. Southern Poverty Law lists SIA, Stop Islamization of America, as a hate group. I have my own perceptions about Southern Poverty Law. I think they cover up a lot of hate crimes over there, and I've got the goods to actually back that up. But nevertheless, they're calling this group a hate group. Now, the ad in question that is being put on these buses in Philadelphia features a photo of a 1941 meeting between Adolf Hitler and a Palestinian Arab activist who backed the Nazi regime. Now, this is, raising all kinds of hackles out there, apparently, in Philadelphia. But I got some questions here. Why don't we have ads on buses that feature meetings between Adolf Hitler and all those American corporate tycoons who were supporting him, including, of course, Prescott Bush? Why do we keep, in a sense, I'm a little concerned as to the continued effort to cover up the U.S. Nazi connection. And as you know, James, it is central to my concerns that the Nazis are really alive and well and running the government of the United States. Now, for those who think this is a conspiracy theory, we may have actually shortly, we may have more documentation.
I do have the picture of the bus that I'm now showing on the video.
Good, very good. Thank you for that. Right. So, so as I was saying, we're digging into some records here. Apparently, under Operation Paperclip, where I'm sure the listening audience knows that a lot of Nazi scientists were brought over under Operation Paperclip. But what may be actually news, which we may be able to share shortly, hopefully if we get the records, is that a whole bunch of run-of-the-mill Nazis were paperclipped with Jewish identities and brought over to the U.S. So the Nazis hid themselves as Jews, got new Jewish identities, and came over to the U.S. There do apparently exist records of these paperclipped Nazis, and so we're working now on getting those. And I want to thank the individuals, you know who you are, who are helping me with this. And this, I think, might go a long ways towards explaining some of the very bizarre behaviors that we're now seeing, that I am seeing, and others who are really pushing this issue are seeing in terms of the Jewish leadership. And I do want to, once again, bring the reader's attention to an article I wrote that was published a few months ago, having to do with the behavior of the leadership of the U.S. Holocaust Museum when confronted with documentation of what's happening, the Holocaust on our elderly and disabled that is going on now through guardianship court. A very strange behavior. You'd almost think these people were Nazis. So we're going to find out if they are.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Hopefully.
I'm looking up while you were doing that. I think the big story you have here is it has been known and reported on that Nazis have been brought in under Paperclip, but the real story here is, I think, specifically as given identities as Jewish. That is, I think,
that's the big
wow.
Story.
And I think that
that's
would be
the
very
big wow.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to just highlight, I mentioned this article about the U.S. Holocaust Museum, but I want to highlight the activities of a couple of well-known Jewish leaders whose behavior, to me, kind of stinks of Nazism. And one would be Michael Chertoff. Michael Chertoff was the head of the Department of Homeland Security for a while under Bush, and he is one of the co-authors of the USA Patriot Act. Now, not only did the USA Patriot Act change the whole landscape of America by turning us into a top-heavy surveillance state, but Chertoff was also the author of that very problematic Section 817, which essentially gives the U.S. government immunity for using biological weapons against its own citizens. Now, to me, that kind of begins to stink of Germany, the use of Zyklon B. So why would a Jewish person be doing this? Now, once again, Michael Chertoff has a secret cousin named Larry Chertoff. We call him a secret cousin because both Larry and Michael have attempted to convince members of the press that there is no familial relationship. However, Larry Chertoff has an ex-wife who has assured us that they are cousins. Now, Larry Chertoff is one of the big water guys. He worked for the EPA, worked for Global Water Intelligencer. He's setting up these double-line water systems everywhere. These double-line water systems, which, for the listening audience who's not aware of my concerns about the double-line water system being used as a delivery system, once again, for possible biological or chemical warfare deployment, you can look at the articles "Water is a Weapon" and start that particular trip down the rabbit hole. So we have Jews who are in power who kind of are acting like they might be Nazis. So if we are in fact able to ascertain that this link exists, that some people were paid, some Nazis were paid, a lot of them, according to the records that, as things have been explained to me, a lot of them that were paperclipped. Nazis paperclipped as Jews, assumed new identities, came over here, got politically active, then it might go a long way towards explaining some of the strange behaviors we're seeing in high-level, high-ranking members of the Jewish community. So this is pending now. I also want to say something also briefly concerning a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Public Records Act requests being made to various agencies in California trying to get records on guardians who are apparently abusing their wards. Initially, it looked like the Department of Justice was actually beginning to respond to some of these requests. Then the wagons circled, and now my Public Records Act requests are being completely ignored, which is an absolute violation of law. I've been able to get some input from an attorney in California, have rephrased some of the requests to make them absolutely disclosable, and lo and behold, neither the Department of Justice nor the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau is responding to any of these requests. So we now have in a sense, a Public Records Act crisis going on in California because those in power don't want us to know what they're doing, and in these particular arenas having to do with these particular requests by law, they have to. So this is a developing story, and hopefully within a couple of weeks we'll have some resolution. I almost said revolution. Revolution.
Well, we could sure use a dose of that if it's done properly anyway.
Yeah, done properly, yes. Resolution is always good. So just want to close very quickly. As I have just wanted to mention a couple things having to do with my own situation here. I have made some outreaches now to embassies in Mexico City, embassies which have already shown themselves to be helpful to individuals who are having problems, American citizens who are having problems with the U.S. government. And I am hoping to make possibly an asylum request. Why am I doing this from Mexico? Aren't I outside of the U.S.? Yes, I am outside of the U.S. And Mexico has, unfortunately, the Mexican government is showing itself to be amenable to persuasion by the U.S. government, and I'm having some very difficult times here. Not going to go into a lot of detail right now concerning the natures of the difficulties, but those of you who have gotten a copy of the book Exile will see that I have made repeated entries concerning the use of chemical assassination weapons against myself. And unfortunately, now in Mexico, the situation, since the publication of my book, Exile, the situation's ramped up. So I am hoping that one of these countries whose embassies I have appealed to will step in and help stop the nightmare, because frankly, the situation is becoming dangerous again. So I think it's important that people are aware of this. And so
yeah, a lot has happened behind the scenes you've not talked about, and I will honor your silence on it, but I have been concerned several times having phone calls from various people calling about things. So, I mean, this is not some kind of a, I don't know what the word is, grandstanding. It's you tend to very underreport yourself. Let's put it that way. But for those who can read that book, we'll get a full, well, actually, I won't say full disclosure, but a very good chunk anyway. I have received requests for 2 books. I offered to buy 2 and give them out to people. I did get the reception of it last week, so those are all mailed out. And I would ask. And
I want to thank you for doing that, James. I think that was very, very nice of you.
Well, it's very important it gets out, and I'm interested in having people write or report on it, review on it. You can do that on a book patch. And I didn't even require it to be like positive. I mean, you might get bad review, but the point is that I want the dialogue on the book, because if you have a dialogue like that, you do have people getting interested. So, anything in closing?
Well, that's as Porky Pig said, that's all, folks. That's all for now. So we'll be back hopefully next week with...
Well, you want to just take a chance here. I'm getting a call in on the call line. Maybe they want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Let me just take this as a...
Sure
You
thing.
are live, Feet to the Fire with Janet Phelan. Hello. Okay. Well, we tried. Oh, wait.
Okay.
We tried. So, I think I just saw what I did. I didn't actually connect the... No, it was on. It was on. All right. Well, anyway, sometimes people call and they're calling to sell me something on that number, and all of a sudden they get a live radio. So, okay. We will talk to you again next time.
Have a great week, James.
All right.
Keep the faith.
Yes, and you too. Janet Phelan, live from Mexico.